In today's video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you take a phenomenal 16-bar loop and pretty much just flesh it out into an entire song. Because I know that that's something that all producers struggle with. How do you get out of the loop? So the loop that we start off with is this thing here. So, I mean, I think that's got some nice potential. But then by the end of this video, and you've just seen the zoom out, I mean, that 16-bar loop just gets turned into a full banger that sounds like this. So whilst this video isn't as focused on the sound design side of things, and by the way, if you want to know how I made any of these individual sounds, let me know in the comments below. This is all about how do you take that original idea that you've got and then structure it into a full banger. Now, if that's not worth a like, comment, and subscribe, do you know what I mean? I don't know what it is. I mean, I guess you could watch, you know, the whole video first, and then like, comment, and subscribe, but you know what I mean? This has been a pretty good intro so far. So without further ado, let's jump into the first tip, which I think is, and it comes in with this cool little pop sound. So the first thing and the first tip is to simplify the loop. So when we listen to it back, that doesn't sound like it's going to be a first drop. That sounds like it's going to be either a second main drop or the second 32 bars. And I'll put a little diagram up here, but the second 32 bars of our first drop, because there's a lot going on for the listener to take on board. First of all, what I'm going to do is take the 16-bar loop and just double it. Yeah, that is the first tip. Just if you want to get out of a 16-bar loop, just double it. Bing! So in order to make sure that I don't lose anything, I'm going to copy all of that across with Control D or Command D if you're an Apple boy. And then I'm just going to start by cutting out a lot of these little samples that are basically the same thing, right? Because it's all chopped up and repeated, and then there's just some little variations. Ooh. So that feels like much more of a first drop. What I'm now going to do is I'm just going to start looking for some other tiny little variations of these samples so that we can make it sound a bit more interesting. Now, the important thing here is that this first one is basically the same, if not just like a little tiny bit different. So perhaps what I'm going to do is just sort of like blend it in a little bit more. Yeah, that sounds nice. And then maybe just blend it out a little bit as well. So it's not exactly the same as the first one. It's just kind of being blended in. Now, we can do exactly the same with these guys here. Maybe we actually don't want this first one. And again, maybe we just blend this in. And maybe we just want something in here as well. So let's just extend this out, cut out this kind of like middle section here, and then just see what we're working with. We've immediately already got this kind of like nice looking hit. I think that's just going to sound so good. Maybe just a bit loud, actually. So I'm going to just select both of them and then turn it down like this. Oh, yeah, boy. What we're now going to do is we're now going to start thinking about some other effects that we can apply to the second half of this. So what we can do is we can then just shift all of that across. I'm going to delete this out. And what we're now going to do is we're going to copy all of our drums over like this. We now have another 16 bars to play with. And perhaps what we want to do is just start applying some effects to it. So I'm actually just going to duplicate this just in the interest of simplicity. And I'm going to carry these down so that we now have two sort of groups. And we're just going to apply effects to the group here itself. So this is going to be the first effect that we apply on this FX group because we're wanting it to sound a little bit different, is we're going to put on a delay and we're going to give it that really cool sort of, you know, delay with juxtaposition to make it sort of a bit robotic sounding. That's the one. And what we're going to do is we're just going to show the automation here don't know why that's like that. And then we're just going to apply it like this. So now we have something on the second half of this, which just sounds a little bit different. Easy. So we've just gone from a 16 bar loop to, I don't even know how many bars this is, but it's a lot of bars. I'm getting excited. So now what we have is we pretty much have the same thing, which means that we now need to start adding in some nice variation. So how can we do that? I hear you crying out from the comment section. Well, one of the things that you can do, and something I'd really advise that you do, is look into all of the different packs that are available through Ableton. So if you own Ableton, like I do, you know, through the wealth that YouTube has given me, there's loads that you can download. There's like 19 packs that I haven't downloaded, for example. And within each of these, you've got some really nice samples and some really nice sounds, you know, tubas, if that's what you need. And then what you've also got are some really good pre-made effects racks, right? So if I go to, I know, like Chop and Swing effects racks here, we've got, you know, altered states, right? I've never used this before, but let's just see how it sounds. I mean, that sounds good. And we can just play around with all of these different effects here. So it gives it sort of this cool kind of like echo or delay. Let's see what else we've got. Distortion, make it bump. I'm not vibing that as much. Let's see what else we've got. Creative extensions, modulation and rhythmic, dub frolic. So now what we can do is we can just start sort of like resampling this in so that we've got some more interesting sounds and variations. I'm going to call this perk glitches. Glitches get stitches. And then we're just going to resample this in. Turn that bad boy on. That sounds good. And all we're trying to do, guys, is just create a bit of variation. Yeah, that could sound pretty cool. There's little bits of that. So the bits that I'm actually thinking there could sound cool are these sort of little, not even these kind of like those bits, because I think that sounds pretty awful actually. So we can get rid of that, and then we've got these kind of cool little, where would that want to go? Put it in with the drums. I can delete out all of these bits here. Yeah, and this bit here sounds cool as well. Maybe not that bit. And then I think this sort of wants to go in here instead. And then that can go here. That can go here. So we're just enhancing the beat. Yeah, actually, I think that sounds really good. So let's consolidate that with Control J. And again, guys, all we have done to simplify all of this is we have just applied some random effects that we like the sound of, and then it's given us some variation. And that's all you need, guys, is variation. Now that we've got some kind of cool variation here, we can start trying to understand, well, where are the gaps? Because we've also got these nice little perk glitches here. That one sounds cool. And then this sounds nice as well. Where does it want to live? I think maybe like here would sound cool. Oh yeah, that sounds really nice. So maybe we just copy this across, so have a bit of continuity. And then we want to do something a bit more interesting kind of in this section here. So I'm thinking to build up into this sound, maybe we can just take, I don't know, like this, for example. I'm going to delete this out like that. So what can we do now that we've perfected these glitches? So I think another thing that we could really do with is just a nice little pre-drop vocal. And I found one that was really optimistic. You know, it makes you feel good about yourself. So I'm just gonna drag that in and play it for you guys. So it sounds like this.
I was always alone.
Yeah, nice. That is nice. So let's start by adding an audio effects rack. And within this, we're going to create a chain and we're going to duplicate that a couple of times. So the first one is going to be dry. The second one is going to be reverb. Third one is going to be delay. The fourth one is going to be space. Before all of this, what we're going to do is we're going to use a free plugin called Wider. And what that does is it makes it wider, right? I'm going to crank that to like sort of like 119%. And what we're also going to do is we're going to put on an EQ8 just at the beginning of all of this to cut out any annoying low end. And we've got that at about 150 hertz. Right, look at the efficiency of this. I'm going to turn the dry off. I'm going to turn all of these other ones off. And we're going to start with the reverb. And the reverb that we're going to use is just going to be a standard Ableton stock reverb. We're going to decrease the decay a little bit. We're going to put the dry wet to 100%, put it on low cut, and then that gives us this. So it's just giving us a little, just a little bit of something, right? What we're then going to do is we're going to go on to the delay, and we choose anything that we want, right? You got all of these like modulated delays, glitch delays, you know, choruses. I'm just going to choose this one, which is glitch delay.
I was always alone.
Put it to 100%. That sounds pretty cool. Let's try, instead of 5, let's go like 3. And then with the dry,
I was always alone.
sounds pretty good. We're going to turn that down a bit.
Always alone.
And now in the space, again, what we're going to do is we're going to use Valhalla Supermassive. Again, free plugin. I'm going to use the Reverb Medium Massive Vocal. It's just my absolute fave. And that sounds like this. That's a bit much. I'm going to turn it down a bit there, and then I'm also just for the sake of it, I'm going to chuck in an EQ8 at the beginning. Just after it. What I'm also going to do, just because we do have quite a lot of reverb there, is I'm going to put in a sidechain on a compressor, and then just sidechain out the kick, just like that. And then I think I want to give it sort of even more reverb. But then all together, it sounds like this.
I was always alone.
I don't really like that Valhalla Supermassive, which is weird because I always like it.
I was always alone. I was always alone.
Yeah, that sounds better, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, just make sure there's no extra low end in here. So I'm going to put in a compressor and just do like a sidechain compressor after the Valhalla. But then I'm going to have to automate in when it's going to be turned on.
I was always alone.
Oh, that's why it sounded weird. It's not the kick. There we go.
I was always alone.
And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to automate the volume of this down, because otherwise it's just going to be a bit annoying. So what I'm automating here is the volume of this audio effects chain.
I was always alone.
See there. I think we do some more interesting stuff with this vocal. There's a really nice plugin that you can use called the Spectral Resonator, which is going to give us like this really cool sort of like robotic sound.
I was always alone.
So you can drop the frequency here.
I was always alone. I was always alone.
Increase the stretch.
I was always alone. I was always alone. I was always alone.
I was always alone.
Maybe I actually don't like that vocal sample, which is annoying. Because it's so happy.
Can I trust you? I always thought you would be someone I could trust. I was always alone. You never really knew me.
I'm just going to try swapping out a couple of these vocals just to see if it sounds any better.
I always thought you would be someone I could trust.
Maybe like just a cool whisper. I mean, I do just like that. I think that's going to be a nice impact.
Are we dreaming? Do you love me?
You will never be alone. Thumbs up. I'm ready.
I think they all want to go in sort of like the second drop as we build up to it.
I'm ready.
Maybe we don't want this necessarily this first. So I'm going to put this over there for now. And this little I'm ready could be better. But maybe we put that. And maybe we don't want all of this reverb going on. Let's go Complex Pro.
I'm ready.
Yeah, that sounds good. What's this one?
Thumbs up.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so we're just going to put the Spectral Resonator on about 50%. And as well, we don't necessarily want the Spectral Resonator on all of them. And then maybe on this one, we put this back on. That times up wants some echo in there. Times up, times up. So it wants to be half. Nice, cool. I also did find this like breathy, sort of whispery boy, which sounds like this. Wow. I mean, it's not meant to sound like that, but that does sound awesome. But a bit scary. This is when we move into tip number 3, which is just basically just add some risers. Now, risers don't want to be everywhere, because otherwise it just gets a bit over the top, certainly a minimal. And they also just want to be very, very nice and subtle. So I've just put one here like that, and I'm going to duplicate that all the way across. I'm going to turn it all the way down. And the way that you audition how loud it gets is just to play the end of it, because that's where it's loudest. Let's see how it sounds. So I just want it to be like this kind of size after the mini audition. Turn it down even more. And maybe what we can do as well is we can then turn that off and then just blend it into itself. So just more of a wash. And what I want to do is I'm actually going to turn this one down even more. So yeah, just some risers. That was a very nice, easy, quick tip. So what I'm going to do to start with is I'm going to copy all of this across, right? So it's just basically exactly the same. I'm then going to remove out the kind of these main glitchy perky boys, and then I'm going to add in the first lot again, because we've had all this cool like complicated stuff that's going on, and now we have some like slightly different vocals, and because it's minimal we don't want it to sound like completely different. But what we can start to play around with is removing elements of the basses and the drums, which always sounds good. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and remove the first beat or bar or whatever of, first of all, this first bit of this drop, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do exactly the same but on the final part of the last 16 bars. So that sounds like this. The final 4 bars sounds like this. So now we just got a cool little drop that goes in, and maybe we just want to duplicate that across. Now, what we can also do on these drums is we can make it sound even better. So I'm actually going to remove out this fill, because we've had this fill quite a few times, and I'm just going to remove the first beat of the drums here. So now I'm not going to lie, this is a phenomenally good trick to do in minimal, because listen, I know this is about to sound good. Listen to how good this is about to sound. And maybe what we could do here, we could just go up an octave. Ooh, that sounds honestly so tasty. The only other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a ride cymbal. And, you know, we've been through rides in the past. I mean, it's a ride cymbal. It just wants to go ding, 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 ding. Pretty nice little ride there. And we've also got like an auto pan and an EQ8 on there just to chop it. So altogether it sounds like this. Ooh, I forgot about that, but that just sounds so good. Yeah, the ride goes nicely there. I might even do this little sort of fakey drop here. What did I delete out? Is it just this first bit like that? Yeah, that is just sounding so nice all of a sudden. And then I'm just gonna, for now, just copy all of that across, but I actually just want it to be the same. But I am gonna cut out this bit here like that, just so we've got a nice bit of variation, right? So it's not as monotonous. So what else do we want to push across? Probably like all of this stuff here. That all sounds good. And then let's just delete that out there. I do think what the breakdown might need is, I think it might need like an atmosphere. So I'm just going to search for, I could just make one myself. Yeah, I'll make it myself. I want it to be like some like wood blocks. For those of you who are a bit more of like a bit astute on the channel, you probably recognize these drums, you know? This is from a series that I didn't actually finish, but I basically just recycled the drums. Now, one of the things that I did include in there were these intro perks. So perk left, perk right, perk center. And then all of it has just got like Endless Arctic and, you know, EQ8 and that kind of thing. So what I'm going to do on the sounds that I've just grabbed is I'm just going to put them in like this. Let's see how all these sound together. Yeah, sounds good. See how it all sounds together. All I think maybe this sub wants to go like warm, warm, warm. Cool. So, I mean, we've been able to stretch this out pretty well, just from a 16 bar loop. So I think that's going to do it for today's video. The thing is, I was actually going to leave it here and, you know, and just sort of like stop and upload it. But then I started fiddling around with it when I'd stopped filming and thought, you know what, I should probably be recording this, because this is, you can't teach this. Even though I am teaching, you can't teach this. The part 2 of this video really looks into how do we make some of the kind of the finer edits to this. I think I even go through like, you know, how to make the intro and that kind of thing. So again, like, comment and subscribe, turn the notifications on, follow me on all my socials. You know what I mean? Standard calls to action to drive retention. So I think that'll do it. Cheers.